I'll start by playing the song "Pumped Up Kids" by the Foster the People. So this song was a very well-known song up until today, and when you hear this song, it gives us a sense of relaxation because of its soft, soothing tone, maybe even making us feel happier. However, that's far from what the song is trying to convey, since the song is about homicidal thoughts of the troubled youth. Before everyone asks, no, I won't be talking about homicide. Instead, I'm gonna be bringing up how the youth back then and even now in today's time go through mental trauma for whatever reason it may be, either from school, home life, anything else that could develop mental health issues. Which leads me to think, does depending what culture you come from affect how they proceed towards mental health? In my informative speech, I will be discussing how different cultures approach mental health. More specifically, I will be discussing how different cultures have their discussions about mental health and how these cultures have access to mental health resources along with their mental health experiences. Firstly, let me talk about how cross cultures discuss mental health. For example, according to Mental Health First Aid USA on July 11, 2019, they have stated that when going for a doctor's appointment, depending on what culture you're in, will influence your actions to either speak about your physical health, your mental health, or maybe even both. This actively demonstrates that every culture has a different way of viewing mental health, meaning it is taught in a particular culture that maybe mental health is a weakness and that should never be brought up, preventing them from openly discussing mental health, unlike in a culture who embraces about the importance of mental health just as how important physical health is. According to the article by the Cultural Diversity and Mental Health Consideration for Policies and Practices, it states that it is taught in certain cultures that having mental health issues should be something to be ashamed of, which limits the discussion between families of that same culture. This actively demonstrates that certain cultures are taught that mental illnesses shouldn't be discussed because it negatively looks down upon, limiting discussion about mental illness, which leads to the lack of seeking help for medical help, which leads me to transition about how cultures exposed to mental health resources. So, to continue on, I will be informing you about how different cultures have access to mental health resources, as claimed by Mental Health First Aid USA on July 11, 2019. Quote unquote, Hispanics and Asians report the lowest rates of having a regular doctor or a provider at 58% and 60%, inferencing the lack of inability to either pay for medical help or access a doctor, preventing them to ask for help for different cultures to prevent their mental health to be help for the mental health issues. They refuse to seek help because of the cultural barriers, like stated in the article by Para Happy and Libeling published in 2021. They stated that Asians do not seek medical help because of their beliefs and because of the lack of diversity in the medical field. This point brings where there are cultural barriers between languages and between the way of thinking, following how different cultures approach mental health care systems. I'm going to also talk about how different cultures have different mental health experiences in the sense of the type of community they live in. So transitioning to how different cultures undergo mental health experiences is because of the community they live in. To further elaborate, the article from the Anxiety and Depression Association of America published in 2019 by Martinez, she talks about how some quote unquote culture groups have been subject to discrimination, distrusting the mental health system can be challenging, which then can influence their thought process that if they seek help again, they will be faced with discrimination and fear being targeted for negative comments and prefer to steer clear from all that, which causes a lack of medical treatment for mental illnesses. And on top of that, doctor visits that are not related possibly to mental health but other physical needs. They had a negative experience when going causing distrust between patient and the doctor. And overall, a bad medical experience could lead less and less doctor visits. And there are many factors which can cause cultures to approach mental health differently. To sum up everything that has been stated so far, the variety of different cultures and their beliefs impact how they proceed towards something important like mental health. So as disappointed you guys were thinking I was going to talk about homicide, it was really going to talk about mental health. However, I hope you as my audience can walk away from watching my speech knowing a little bit more about how our cultures impact our actions, just like how it affects our approach to mental health.